This is episode 19 of the Hybrid Coaching Podcast. I am really excited to announce in this episode we get to interview Mintra Tilly. Mintra is the only female head of sport that I know of. We talk about her role model and her influences in creating the race of HYROX. If you didn't know, she is the creator behind the race that we all love to run in hybrid sports. She also owns her own gym, HYROX Zone OG, which stands for HYROX Zone Original Gym. And I'm very excited to get into this. Stick around to the end if you want to hear a little bit of exclusive HYROX news. Let's make hybrid fitness work for you. But nobody's talking at this hour. All right, it is going. Extra special day today, guys. We are episode 19, and we have a very special guest. Mintra is the head of sport for HYROX.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Mintra.
Did I get that title right, Mintra?
Yes, you got that right. Thanks.
So I am very excited to talk to Mintra. If anybody doesn't know who Mintra is, like I said, she's head of sport for HYROX. She is the person that created the race. So every time you run the race, it's Mintra who made it for you. So you can thank her or curse her, whichever one you feel like doing. But don't curse her. She's awesome. And then we're going to go a little bit into her background and coaching and all this stuff. But I just want to say thank you for coming on, Mintra. I'm very excited to talk to you. I think the first time I actually met you face-to-face was in Leipzig in 2021.
Yeah, long time ago.
Yeah. And before that, I think we had a short talk before either the home series finale or the VCF finale. And then I had your husband in my ear telling me good rep or no rep while judging Lauren.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah. Cool. So JK, you got anything you want to say before we get started, or?
No, I was just gonna start with we missed you at Worlds at Nice, Mintra.
Oh.
I'm sure the listeners know. Look, you've probably had a bit of a shift of life the last couple of months, and did you miss not being there at the World Championship
Yeah,
3 months ago?
I did, to be honest. It's actually the first championships I missed, so I was like,
Wow.
oh, I can't be there. But then, as you might know, I was with you guys like through WhatsApp, and I was in every single chat. So it kind of
actually.
So it kind of felt like I was still there a little bit, but yeah, I did miss
Actually,
it.
just on that note, it was interesting because we'd be getting communication from HYROX throughout the whole weekend, and half of it was from you. And in my head, I was like, "Is Mintra actually here?" And she's just like not wanted to socialize with us.
Yeah,
No, it was interesting. So you were still obviously hands on.
Yeah, I was home. I mean, and I had time, right? So it was like, let me go and help out from here because everyone was so busy on site. So yeah, it was fun. This way, I got to be a little bit of a part of it, although I wasn't there.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
Stuff.
So if anybody doesn't know, well, actually, I was going to tell you, Lauren really wanted to come say hi, but it is 1 a.m. where I'm at. If anybody doesn't know, this is an interesting thing, is that we are all 8 hours apart. So we're all exactly 1/3 of the world apart from each other.
That's so funny.
Yep.
Round the clock here. So
international.
Yep. God, I'm in the mountain time zone in the US. Mintra, you're in Germany, right?
Yeah. Central Europe time.
Yep. And then JK's over just outside Brisbane on the Gold Coast in Western Australia.
Yeah.
Or Eastern Australia.
But
Eastern Australia.
5 p.m. Thursday time right now.
Yeah.
That's right.
Awesome. All right. So just want to jump in. So let's just start, Mintra, with you. This is mostly a coaching podcast. We don't do a lot of like breaking news or anything, but maybe we'll have news at the end. But I just want to really get into with our interviews. You're actually only the first person that JK and I are interviewing together, but that we want to talk to other coaches about how they prepare for hybrid sports and HYROX specifically. And really interested. I know you are you own a gym, you have a gym, right? HYROX OG. And
Rock Zone OG.
Rock Zone OG, my bad.
Yeah.
And then you obviously created the race, so who better to talk to than the person who brought it to life, right? So my first question is what's your background coaching and programming in athletics? Like,
Yeah. So so basically my personal background is I've always been a gym rat up to a point where I had a little bit of a detour to bodybuilding because I had a coach who was super into bodybuilding. She would go on stage and she was like, "Hey, you should do this. It's fun." I'm like, "All right." And then I did it one time, but I realized how much, how hard work that is, like counting your calories and then like dehydrating at the end and putting all that tan on yours. So that's when I, got huge respect for bodybuilding. And that was a little detour. And then I discovered, tactical fitness, military athlete, CrossFit. And that's when I kind of shifted from this is, from being a gym rat into, working out differently, basically. And that's also when I pursued and first started my coaching career. So my background is I'm not a sports scientist, so I'm more of a coach by trade. So everything I learned on the athlete. And then I had through the military, channel, I discovered a guy called Rob Shaw, and he's the owner and founder of Mountain Tactical Institute. And what he did was he's like Mountain Time, your time. So I think he's in Jackson, Wyoming. Where are you again, Anthony?
so we're in Salt Lake. We're about 3.5 hours from Jackson. I actually have a cousin that lives in Jackson Hole there. Jackson.
There you go. Yeah, Jackson Hole. So he's from Jackson Hole, and that's like the mecca of mountain sports. So like free skiers and I guess rock climbers, ice climbing, all that good stuff. And he used to program for mountain athletes. And then when the Afghanistan war first started, the soldiers were like, "Hey, this actually works for us because we're up here in the mountains, doing having elevation gains and doing all these step ups here on the mountain." So, and that's when he kind of like came to realize that mountain athletes are not too far away from tactical athletes and so on and so forth. So that's how I discovered him. And then I went to Jackson Hole and lived there for about 6 months and learned basically everything I know now from him. So I did a mentorship with him, and until this day we keep a close relationship. So I'd say he's my coach / mentor. But then obviously on a personal level, I went to Jackson Hole and I thought, I'm fit or whatever. I train 5 days a week. I got this. And then I got there and I was crushed. Like every single day they would crush me there. They would do like running in IBAs, doing 1,000 step ups, like go, and I was just, my ego was like, okay, well, I'm the unfittest person in this room. How am I going to survive my time here? But it was tough love. And honestly, so that made me essentially as a coach who I am. And that influenced me heavily on designing the race. So yeah.
That's awesome.
And when was that, Mintra?
This was roughly 2011, 2012-ish, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's I got then my personal trainer certificate, my CrossFit certification. But the main thing that really influenced me was Rob and his training philosophy.
And the mountain sports there. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then again, me, this little girl from Germany, I was then supposed to coach. I remember him, Rob Hess. He was the first guy without an oxygen mask to climb Mount Everest. I'm like, squat lower, it's like I had to find my voice, and like it was just all around a great experience, a humbling experience. And but I came out stronger. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. He's not far from us. Maybe I'll ask you after this what his contact is, and
Hmm.
I'll look him up. 3 hours isn't that far of a drive. How'd you like Jackson and Jackson Hole? Like, that's a beautiful place.
Oh gosh, I loved it. But you know what? The thing was, when I was there, it was winter time, so
Yeah.
it was
10 feet
like
of snow.
I'm like, and I mean, the mountains, everything is beautiful. But then, what I hated was getting up at 5 in the morning, driving to the gym. And the gym it was really just a big hall. And it had like this tiny radiator in all the way in the far left corner. And I was like, this is freezing. The barbells were cold. So it was a horrible, all around a horrible experience. But I made some lifetime friends there. And like, and on the weekends, that's when I realized, this is a beautiful, even magical place, because mountains and
Yeah.
stuff. It just has something. It's just really cool there.
It's really amazing. Okay, so I also heard, you can correct me here, you are a fitness instructor for a national hockey team.
Yes, 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 man. You dig out all the whole past here. Yeah. So so then obviously I love Jackson so much. I wanted to stay there, and then Rob was like, "No, because Rob is he's no bullshit guy. He's gonna tell you if you suck or if you. So he was like, you got to go back to Germany. There's nothing to do for you here. Germany is a sports nation. And I'm like, okay, because this was again 2012. Um, I'm thinking, okay, what am I supposed to do there? I'm not going to get into soccer because this is a male dominated sport. They're not going to let any strength coach, coach their athletes. So I'm like, all right, I have to go back because he was basically kicking me out. So I had to go back. I went back to Hamburg. And then my friend took me to a hockey game. No, hold on. I was in Jackson. I went to the Jackson Hole Moose, who are like the local hockey team,
Mhm.
and I absolutely loved it. So that's how I gave my love for hockey. And then when I got back to Germany, my friend took me to a hockey game. So I was like, oh, this is cool. I didn't even know that we had this because I wasn't interested in hockey before. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna coach these guys. Let me figure out how. And then so I called up the GM. I was like, hey, obviously I didn't get to him. I was handed to his secretary, but I was like, yeah, just making up stuff. I met him at a summit, and he told me to call him and blah 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 blah. And then like Lord and behold, he did call me back. He was like, huh? Where did we met? Like, and then I was like, yeah, no misunderstanding, but I'm this great strength coach from Hamburg, and I have this new thing, and I know I can bring your team, blah blah blah. And then like honestly, he was like, all right, he was Canadian, so he was like, okay, if put your if you can actually just bring a little bit of what you just told me to life, then I'm going to give you one little player here. It was a um, in Germany we call this U19, like below, like a youth player, pretty much, who was in
Yeah.
transition to become a pro. I'm going to give you him. You train him for the summer, and if this is done right, you get the whole team. I'm like, okay, cool. So awesome. And then I got Ralf. I will never forget this. Ralf Rinke. He's from Belarus, and I train with him everything. Man, I think he cursed me out a lot of times because this was my protege at this point, right? So I had to like make it right. And so we trained every single day for 5 days. I mean, I think he never trained like this in his whole life, and I never had one-on-one coaching like this. So it was a great experience for both of us. And yeah, and then after the summer, um, I became the strength coach for the entire team. So then I had what I think maybe 28 guys or 30 guys, and yeah, coached them.
That
Started coaching them.
Is this ice
that's
hockey or field hockey? Sorry.
Huh? No, that's ice hockey.
Ice hockey. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
ice hockey. Yeah.
I
Ice
So
hockey.
so lots of spare, no teeth when they're smiling,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
dental surgeon on staff, exactly.
yeah, and stinky locker rooms, and yeah, but it's fun. Super fun.
That's amazing. I don't know, maybe I'm not in that a lot. Like, I watch obviously the NHL here. I like the Vegas Golden Knights was the team when we were living in Las Vegas, right? So I watch them, but I don't know if there's a lot of and we'll get to this in just a minute, but like you're the only female head of sport that I know of in any of major sports, other sports. Like, I don't know of any other female. I find that you're an amazing role model and example for young women that like want this as a path, and fitness instructors. And then to do that as well, you were the strength coach for a national hockey team. Like that's a really big deal. So were there any other women in that position in the league you were in, or?
No, there weren't at that time. I want to say there was one before me or something from what I heard, but at that time there wasn't. And it was quite a big deal. You're right. So it was like, ooh, first female strength coach. And is she going to? So all eyes were on me and I had to perform. I mean, you always got to bring your A game, but I felt like I had to be 200% all the time because whenever I did something wrong, they were like, ha, gotcha type thing, because this sucked for me. This put a lot, but this was also then again good. But yeah, I do feel like females are definitely underrepresented, especially, I mean hockey, but then also look at soccer. I don't think there's any female strength coaches. I know the States has now. I know there's one strength coach that coaches NFL, the NFL, an
Yeah,
NFL
that was
team.
that was a big deal. I saw that there was like
Yeah.
I think now as of last year there were 3 assistant or coach, like either assistant coaches or strength coaches on NFL staff, 3 female
Yeah. Yeah.
in
And
the
that's
whole league. I
awesome.
mean,
I
yeah,
know,
there's
I know.
there's
But
32
it's something. It's
things, but
something.
yeah, it's a
And
great start to
yeah,
keep going. Uh,
yeah.
that's really really awesome. That leads me into the next one. What was your path getting to Christian and Mo and creating the race?
Yeah, so I know Christian's wife. We're friends. And then one day Christian was like, he was calling me. I was like, what does he want now? But then he was like, hey, I have this idea. I want to combine running and functional training into a race. I thought that was kind of random, but I'm like, all right, okay, what do you want? And he explained it to me. And then, yeah, I made a draft. And the draft was made in Jackson, by the way, in Jackson Hole, in my friend's living room. And so I sent it over to him. He was like, this is just what I want. Perfect. And let's meet up. And this was also 2012 or 2013. And then we were kind of like, pretty far already into negotiations. And then it stopped all of a sudden. And he went MIA. And I haven't heard from him for maybe 3 or 4 years. And then I get a call and he was like, hey, do you remember that one time we were sitting down and talking about this? Can you come back and show the team? So I went and did, and that's when he actually then founded Absolute Sports, which is now the company behind HYROX. And then Mo and everyone were in the picture, and then that's where we sat down on the table and I explained it, and this is how it all started.
Yeah.
So when was that you sat down at the table and you explained it? What year was that?
I think this was 2000, early 2017, and then
Right.
they were like, yeah, in or maybe I can't remember. It was 2017 because I remember thinking that's not possible because Christian then said, yeah, and then in November we're gonna do this in the central in the convention center and blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, right. So I guess, but I wasn't at that point. I wasn't really taking him serious because he disappeared once, right? And I was like, all right, this is
Yeah,
not
wow.
too serious to him, but let's do it anyways. So yeah,
Awesome.
2017 that was.
So I'm actually going to dig into that more a little bit later, but I guess I have some questions out of order. But I did want to jump back. I know we're going to jump around here.
That's fine.
Just being the only female head of sport that I know of, do you know of any other sports, races, or anything that do have a head of sport that's a woman?
No, I don't. I don't. If anyone hears this, like hit me up. I'd love to connect.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't. I don't. I try to I guess keep my eye open whenever I see like the NFL coach and stuff. But like there's like she seems unreachable. But like like but and I don't think she would. I don't know. But like there's just no one in my that I know of that is in that position or is in the same I guess struggles or whatever. So hit me up.
I actually know. I I didn't get as successful as you, where I tried to call a
That was luck. That was
hockey
luck.
GM and get in. But like my background's in strength training and CrossFit and weightlifting and like wrestling, and I've always like every year I feel like, especially this time of year, I look up an NFL team or an NHL team, and I'm like, I wonder how I can get in to be their coach. I wonder if they're accepting people. Like, so sometimes I'll see that, but I've never called their secretary and been like, yeah, I met him at a conference and they told me to call.
Well, just do it. Shoot your shot, because at the end of the day, what are they going to say? All they can say is no,
Yeah,
thank you, right?
Yeah.
that's
So
exactly.
go ahead and do it.
That's awesome. So I don't know how you're gonna be able to reach that NFL coach, the other ones, but what I think, just because I brought that up again, I think you guys do a really good job of highlighting the women's race alongside the men's race. And actually, coming from my side, I was kind of blind to the men's race until I started coaching JK. Like, I focused way
Really?
more, obviously, on the women's race um, for years. Like, got into it, very involved, and just now I'm kind of seeing the men's. But I think it does a really good job of balancing both of them and showing the athletic abilities of the men and the women.
Mm.
Yeah.
Um,
I think so too. I think that's necessary, because we want to be taken seriously, and we want to like promote equality and stuff. So I think it's very necessary. And fun fact: when we started, we were like, I think at 80-20 male attendance to female attendance, because um, yeah, I don't know, because it was intimidating, or I'm not sure why. And this has now changed, and so we're not quite there 50-50, but we're like at least at 60-40. So I think it's a great thing to see that, where sport, where it's kind of like evened out.
yeah,
And yeah, of course, whenever there's male athletes, there should be female athletes, and vice versa.
absolutely. And looking at the depth of the top of the field too, it's just getting deeper. It's getting harder and harder to get to that elite 15 level, and there really is, 20, 30 people that could be that, 8th through 15th spot in the elite 15s. And I just think the depth on both sides has gotten amazing.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so too.
okay, switching not exactly from HYROX, but I wanted you to tell us a little bit about your gym, Rock Zone OG.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, yeah. So the Rock Zone Original Gym is what the OG stands for. Is a project that yeah, it kind of like, we didn't plan on doing it, but the gym that was there, the owner wanted to sell it. So it is right around the corner where we live. So we were like, let's do it, because Jacob used to own a CrossFit box, and I think he kind of missed having, that his gym type thing. And then I was a little skeptic at first, because it's not like we don't have enough work, and having an additional gym is a risk also financially, but then we said let's do it anyways. And so yeah, we came up with the name, and the name is, obviously we're playing a little bit with the OG, because we're both the OGs also of HYROX. So the original gym is where it's located. It's located in the north of Hamburg, and it's a true hybrid gym. It's a little boutique gym. It's not too. I mean, JK seen it. It's kind of like smaller, on the smaller side, but that doesn't mean inside is still everything you need as an athlete. And yeah, we do actually have a very specific concept. We just didn't get to roll out yet, because we're still at the beginning. We need more members for that, so to say. But yeah, it's a brand new concept, and it's kind of like um, mimicked around all HYROX movements and all functional movements. So you won't find any machines in there. We do have some barbells, but yeah, it's limited.
You mean
And
like bodybuilding machines, right? Because you still have a row
yeah,
ski erg and stuff.
yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, you won't find any bodybuilding machines in there. You
Right.
will only find we have skiers, rowers, and assault runners, and then we have bike ergs. and then the rest is sleds and kettlebells and sandbags and stuff like that.
Nice. So if anybody's in Hamburg, if I ever go to Hamburg, I'm gonna visit that gym for sure.
Yes, please do.
So as you guys coach at that gym and stuff, what is your coaching philosophy there? And then like, how do you train someone for health? Because, you know, the main focus of a gym is usually the general health of all the clientele. So how do you train someone for health versus how you would train them specifically for a HYROX? And is it the same?
I guess to some points it's the same. So if someone walks into a gym, we usually, I mean, like every gym probably asks them, you know, what is your goal? What do you we do like a checkup with them, and then we do like an initial testing. And that includes, you know, the FMS screen, like a little benchmark workout, and if they want, we do a lactate tolerance test, like a, what's this in English? The lactate test, right?
Lactate threshold test?
Threshold test. Thank you. There you go. So we do that if they want to, and then, you know, we retest them. So we do have a little bit of a more performance-based approach, although this performance, you know, is kind of broken down. When you do the threshold test, it's like, do you want to lose weight? Then you need to stay in this area. If you want to up your cardio, then you stay in this area. So on and so forth. So I think essentially, like, it's the same for all. But then when it comes to training, no, let me rephrase this. Well, when it comes to like attending races, then you would go through cycles. Then we like, you know, you would still train for health, but then obviously you need to cycle, and at one point you need to get sport specific in order to, you know, perform and know what you're dealing with and having your body adapt to the movement. So that's I think the difference. So essentially, at the ground it's the same, but then it kind of like when it comes closer to race day, it'll change.
Yeah.
The approach will change.
That's very much like JK and I talk about all the time. We do a lot of for the coaching and programming, we do a lot of general fitness, like
Yeah.
get healthy, stay fit, get your conditioning to the highest level, your strength to the highest level you can sustain and manage and continue to excel and improve. And then when you get close to a race that's important, or close to a race that you're looking to perform well or anything, it's about 4 to 6 weeks out, you really start to hammer more race specific
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, and that's exactly like periodization. That's exactly how it works, really. I mean, I don't know. That's yeah, that's the right thing to do.
Cool. So, and I guess that leads to my next question. I was just going to ask, in your opinion, if you were training somebody to be in the Elite 15 or excel in the Elite 15 versus somebody approaching their very first HYROX, would there be a big difference in how you would train them?
Yes, I feel like if someone wants to be in the Elite 15, or then I feel like they have like already, they need to bring some sort of base with them, like a higher level of fitness, and then I guess the training hours would be longer versus someone who just started and wants to do their first HYROX. Because, you know, again, the body needs to adapt, and the volume just needs to be significantly higher for an Elite 15 athlete. You know,
So
and also,
the
sorry.
movements necessarily wouldn't be the same, just the volume and intensity of
The volume, the load, the intensity, exactly. Because I think that's at least how I would approach it. They would do the exact same thing to their abilities, right? Because for example, I would throw in some Olympic lifts in there because they're awesome and they help you, you know, essentially help make you better. But like the beginner probably wouldn't do it because, or will start doing it differently because they still need to learn it. But like I don't see a difference other than load and intensity and volume.
Yes, that's fantastic. That's very similar approach right there to how I train JK and Lauren and these other people versus like our mass general. It's just the needs don't vary by type, just by degree.
Exactly, and you know, my Rob used to always say, you know, train as you fight. So if you prepare for this specific event, then you need to incorporate all these movements, and it doesn't matter if you're a beginner. Obviously, you need to start somewhere else, but at the end of the day, you need to do the same thing when you get closer to race day.
Absolutely.
Do you program, or do you and Jacob program, or how do you approach the programming side of things for HYROX OG?
We don't like I don't program. I barely program anymore. I used to program a lot, and now I just shifted away from it because time time issues, and then also we have a really good coach at the ROG that is doing our entire programming, and he, we obviously in conversation with us, but I trust him. Shout out to Andy here. I trust him 100%. He does a really good job at like even because it's hard, if you program for a gym, how can you throw in some periodization because you never know who shows up and stuff. But I think he does a really good job.
That's great. So just a little background. I became a HYROX affiliate, the hybrid engine did. And
Yeah, nice.
I retook the foundations course just because I noticed you were in a bunch of the videos and I wanted to make sure I was asking you the right questions. So some of the questions that I brought out of that included like, what training methodologies did you have in mind when you were designing the HYROX race? And what type of athlete did you expect? Did you have a certain type of athlete in mind that you thought would excel when you designed it?
Oh yeah, I did, but none of them have done it yet. So okay, so let's start with the last
Yeah.
question. So I I had in mind when I designed the race, I was like, soldiers would do really well in this, and ice hockey players would do really well in this, and then also I think, and this is like I guess an insider, or I think handball players. I don't know the word in English. You did that game. This is really popular in Europe. They would
Handball, yeah.
excel us. Those are tall guys, super tall guys, and they're well rounded. They're not just leg dominant like most ice hockey players are. They're like well rounded athletes. They're almost like huge MMA players, and they can like do all these things. And I think they have the stamina. They have they can do high intensity stuff. They can recover well, and so I think those three athletes. So I know soldiers, like obviously in the U.S., lots of military guys have done it before. I don't think anyone has done it to a level where they just do that or is professional. And also, remember Rachel? Rachel.
She lives about an hour away from us now. Rachel Schreiber, Rachel Vonderak. She got married.
Yeah. Okay. She got married. She has a new name. So Rachel is she still active duty? Or is
No,
she?
they're optometrists. Her and her husband.
Oh, interesting. Rachel, hit me up. No, I'm just kidding. But she's an active duty soldier, or she was, and she was really good at HYROX. So she was the only one that I know of that made it to that level. But I'm pretty sure if others in the service, dedicate their time, if that I know it's hard with their time, but if they would excel. So would ice hockey players, and I'm pretty sure handball players.
So I actually coached Zara Pirigiani, and she was a handball player.
Ah,
So,
really?
yep.
That's so interesting. Yeah, and look, there you go. She's really good.
Yeah, Zara made it. So you were right. Like, there's one that she came in.
One made it. Yeah, and I mean, I guess the nature of things is those athletes are professional athletes. So why would they come and do HYROX now? But like, I'm curious to see, as the sport gets more popular and people like end their careers, like maybe they switch over to, or if they, where they were in the youth played at a higher level and then they didn't make it pro, they can transfer. So kind of like it's interesting to see, and maybe there are already players out there or ex-athletes, but we just don't know. So I didn't know about Zara. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And just so going through like the foundations course again, I remember listening to the video and you said that you had an initial thought for the race, which I'm assuming is the one that you sent to Christian originally while you were in Jackson. But I guess some of the movements were too technical. So I'm just curious, what was your initial outline for the race? And then what movements did you remove that you thought were too technical? And what were they replaced?
Yeah, so the initial so this, mind you, I always get asked like, what's your HYROX time? How many HYROX have you done? So I really only in my
I
career
got that as
like
a question in here later.
there you go. Officially, I only have 2 because we were always working, especially in the beginning years. We were like hustling, and there was no time for us to race. But what I can tell you, I probably did close to like 30 or 50 races. Like, well, 50 is over exaggerated, but like in the lead up to this, like trial and error. So
Yeah.
when the first, like lots and lots of races. So the first race actually had 100, either 50 or 100 kettlebell swings, and then 50 box jumps, and then 100-meter inchworms. So so obviously when I did that, I thought this sucks, because I mean the kettlebell swings were fine, they sucked, but the worst part was the inchworms. Have you ever done 100 meters of inchworms? Like, what the hell? It's like, it's not fun. So I was like, and plus it's dumb. Let's take the movement out. So I think this then got replaced by burpee broad jumps, I think.
The swings and
Yes.
the inchworms would be hard to judge.
Yeah, super hard to judge. But then the inchworms would be by distance, so then it'll be okay, type thing, right? But yeah. So do 100-meter inchworms and let me know what you think. But but then the swings were too technical, and then the box. So they were replaced, but the box jumps made it all the way to the very, very end. And this is when we invited our friends and family to test this, and that's when I realized box jumps maybe not be the right thing, because
People
as a
bang their
coach.
shins, not everybody can
Yes.
jump,
And people
but they
have
could
this
step over.
psychological.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like step ups, yeah, but I didn't. It was just then replaced by sandbag lunges. But if you think about it, it also has like the psychological thing.
Yeah.
Where some people can't jump onto
Yeah.
the box or don't want to jump, and so and also if you look at the race, what would this look like? We would have like super long benches and then 50 of them or something. It'll essentially become like an obstacle.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was like X'd out. So yeah, so those were the versions, and exercises that didn't make the cut.
So the sleds were always a part of
Always,
the
always.
original version.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
sleds push, and again, the sled was intended to be a push pull movement, where because you push something and then you pull something, upper body pull, and that it wasn't until I think the second season or the first rollout towards the end where athletes then started to like walking back instead of just having the upper pull movement. And I thought this is amazing, because I haven't thought about this. I intended it to be an upper body pull movement, but of course you're going to think about the most efficient way to like save energy and to get this done, right? So that was like, to me, already a cool evolution of how one would execute the
I
movement.
wonder,
Yeah.
I wonder if that was a product, because I remember seeing season 2, the first race in Miami, and then New York, Chicago, Dallas. They were here at least, because those are the ones we saw.
Yeah.
There was a lot of athletes who were trying to do hand over hand pulling, but I know Lauren and I think Imke, because the sled felt heavy in Miami, they started walking back there. And I know it's Imke. I don't know if she'd done that in her previous races from season 1, or if that was just like, just gonna do it in season 2, and they started going through there.
Yeah, I can't exactly remember what was the tipping point, but yeah, it could have been. It's very likely that those two girls were like the initial starters, and then everyone were like, this is so smart, let's do it too.
So what was like the intent behind the movements chosen and the weights chosen for the sleds? Because I remember listening to your video there that said there you have 7 foundational movements. 6 of them made it into the race, with the only exception being rotation.
Yeah. What would you do for rotation that can be judgeable, and that's
it's kind of in there now with the way they sled pull, where they rotate a little, and like
right?
with the farmer carry where they have to turn 180 degrees, there's still that stabilization, I guess.
Correct.
So I mean, it's kind of in there.
Yeah, it's sort of in there. It's sneaked in.
But an actual specific rotation movement, right? That's a hard.
Yeah.
That's a hard.
I mean, what are you gonna do? Russian twists? Like, there's not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? Again, this is so important to incorporate into your training, right?
Mhm.
Lateral movements. Is this lateral or
Lateral? Yeah, because
lateral?
we stay in one plane most of the time.
Yeah.
You
So
need to
lateral
go.
movements would need to be in there, and then rotation. Just so you have a well-rounded program. But yeah, it didn't make the cut into HYROX, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have to train for it. or incorporate into your training.
Yes. So you said you did a lot of testing with friends, family, yourself. I'm sure you brought other athletes in to test it out. Did you have a target time you wanted the race completed in? Like when you were making it, was there we want it to be done in this amount of time for the fittest people, and then this amount of time for mass participation?
Yeah, yes and no. When I started testing it, circling back to your weight question, I was still like, I considered myself a pro, so I would do everything with pro weights, and so I was the test guinea pig for pro women pro, and then Jacob was for men pro, and then we had Maya, who was on our team. She was an open. We would call her the everyday athlete, because she would do an open women, and we had some friends that do the open men categories. And so yeah, when we had this in mind, and I did it, I was super slow. I was always, because I hated running at that time, so I would always end up at 140, like super slow. So I was like, okay, let's deduct like 10 to 15 minutes from that. So the average pro would then end up at between 120 and 140, so 130 essentially, which then actually really happened. And then for the rest of the divisions, we wanted the same thing, because we didn't want it to be too long. It was supposed to be about an hour and a half, and yeah, I mean, now it's crazy. Like, we go below 1 hour, and this is just something we didn't have in mind. Like, I didn't have in mind back then. I was just like, let's let's stick around an hour and a half. And funny enough, we had the weights, and we did in 2017 we had our initial event, which was called HYROX by the time. And then I brought in all my friends, and we did, like, the night before, we did a test run, and we realized, fuck, the sleds, none of us could move the sleds because of the damn carpet, right? So we were like, this is going to be a catastrophe tomorrow. So we took away weights. So the initial HYROX was even heavier. The weights were even heavier. So I want to say we took away 50 kgs or 25 kgs. And because my gym had a concrete floor, it's different, right? You guys know that. So
Yeah.
So then the night before, like, everything had been communicated, right? The weights, we expected like a shit storm because the weights are, but no, there was nothing like that. So they were all happy, and this is when the now official weights were implemented, because it was supposed to be heavier.
Wow. So that's what I was going to lead to. Did you ever? So you never expected the men to go below 55 minutes. I mean, JK 54 and the women below 60. Lauren's 58. Like, that's amazing. That's flying.
That's super flying. That's like, no, never in my wildest dreams. But if you think about it, it does make sense. You gain training age, meaning training age for HYROX. So you start, and then the longer you do it, the older in training age you get, the better you get. So yeah, of course, this number will still go down. So now it's amazing what the human body can do. But I think there's still more to come. I think there's no pressure, JK, but I think there's still a little less time. Yeah.
That's awesome. So that leads actually into my next question. I had because you talked about the carpet and pulling the 50 kilos off at the beginning. Yeah. Will the HYROX race ever change?
I'm not sure. I don't think it'll change for a long time, meaning it needs to stay the same format in order to be even more established. And then once that's done, I think we will then think about, coming up with variations, and also maybe exchanging one exercise or something. But for that's super in the future, because the goal is to now set a global format that is, and even, this, but like, we're constantly working on, making it exactly the same from I guess the rock zone order to the running laps. So we're still not there, because some courses have 2 laps, some courses have 3 laps, so that's the goal, to like even make it more comparable, even though the overall length and stuff is the same, blah blah blah. But if you have turns in there, so yeah, so we're still sticking to that format and want to establish it
Are you guys
even
looking to make
more.
like a template then that could
Yeah.
hopefully fit within any convention center? That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
it's so hard because of pillars and emergency
yeah,
exits and blah blah blah. But like our ops team is like working their ass off to get this better step by step. It's baby steps, but we're getting there.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if you guys know this. JK knows I do this, but I look up the venues that I know my athletes are gonna race at, and I find pictures of the interior. I try to imagine what the course
Oh
might look
wow.
like beforehand. Uh,
Crazy, Mintra.
You get
Absolutely
super
crazy.
geeky with it, huh? That's
Yeah, if I
awesome though.
can, I mean it wouldn't be the first
It-
time I've called the convention center or the city and been like, "Hey, I'm an engineer. Can I get plans of your building?" Like,
Okay, wow.
uh, just to like see it,
Well, that's
try to
the way to do
measure it
it though.
soon.
Come
Yeah, I mean,
prepared.
like just have them be prepared because I know like you guys release the course the week of, but if I can ask for it earlier, then I would. So the oh, but sorry, we were talking about the change, so I had more questions on that.
Mm.
I saw, and maybe I don't know if I'm giving anything away. I saw that a lot of the HYROX affiliate gyms have this new black turf. Have you guys ever thought about changing the carpet to turf? Or
Yeah, good question. That where we, the carpet, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse, right? But the carpet is what is unique to the races, but then it's so off gym, I guess. Well, there's no carpets in gym. Let's put it like that. At
yeah,
least not for sleds. So yeah, we're definitely looking into replacing it and coming up with a way that, because it's not just the sports side of it, it's also the logistical part, because carpets are way like lighter than turf. You can just roll it up and there you go. And turf is like heavy and we need more transportation, we need more trucks, blah blah blah. And then also it needs to be the same resistance, and how does it react. It's like a little bit of a rocket science to like come up with the right turf, to be honest, because humidity and blah
yeah.
blah blah. so
Well,
so
turf
we're
also has a grain angle. It faces a certain way, so it'll be harder one way than the
exactly.
other, but unless you put it sideways, yeah. And
And
so
if
if
you
you
put
mess it up at one venue, then it's really tough.
exactly, and
Yeah.
also if you brand it, then all of a sudden, then it, like, if you the sled can
Paint on
go
it.
over,
Yep.
yeah. So it's like it's a pain, but we're also working on that, to have like a unified global solution, which then can be also trained in gyms.
Yeah. So I know
I
you
don't think
told
you
us.
guys get sorry, I don't think you guys get enough credit for actually being
Yeah.
very on to the logistics of making sure that each race and each menu is as consistent as possible. Right. I was at the when was it? The Hong Kong, the first, I think it was maybe the second Hong Kong race, May of 2023. And Matlock and a couple of the other um, logistics people on the day came up to us, and it was Tom Hogan and I who were trying to get into the Elite 15, and they pulled us aside and said, "Look, just let you know, we are adding 40 kilograms to the sled." And we both looked at each other and we were like, "No way in hell you are! What the hell?" And then Matt and I can't remember the other guy's name,
Yusuf, it
but
was Yusuf, Matt and Yusuf.
yeah, no, yes, it was. But they pretty much explained everything very well. They even took us to the actual carpet and actually showed us the little like
Friction meter.
Yeah,
dongle
like a Newton, like a gog. It's called gog. Yeah.
yeah, and they showed us what you guys actually use to test the friction of the carpets, right? So it was actually really cool to understand how in depth you guys go. And yeah, I just don't think you guys get enough credit for that, right? There's too much criticism towards it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
so I have a little thought question here, and it's for both of you guys actually. So we talked about not changing anything in the HYROX race, which is awesome. But if you could change any movement, what would it be and what would you replace it with?
JK, you want to go first?
Mine's I've always just thought burpee box jump overs instead of burpee broad jumps. Um,
So a certain number of reps instead of a distance.
yeah, that's what I'd
And then
that's what I'd like.
you'd run into that jumping thing that she was talking about
Yeah, well,
earlier,
yeah,
the
correct.
fear of jumping
I
over the
sure
box.
sure you could just step up over as opposed, but I've just always thought that for some reason. Yeah, that's what
Hmm,
I'd change.
interesting. I would exchange farmer's carry.
Ooh, what would you replace it with?
With what?
Uh, I'm not sure, but I feel like farmer's carry is
The shortest station.
it's the shortest.
Uh-oh.
Now that I think about it, it's kind of like it does give it does have its own right in the race. But if I were to replace something, then farmer's carry. But I don't know with what. Like I'm not sure
Hmm.
because it need to be something similar. Um, I don't think
Yeah,
farmer's carry gets your heart rate up that much. It's more of like a mental grip core thingy. But yeah, I would replace it with something that's a little bit more challenging, maybe. I don't know. Not to say that it's not challenging. That's wrong. That's the wrong word. I I
I
would just replace it.
I mean, I could see. I don't know what you do it with unless like you decide to have barbells and did deadlifts or something. I personally would probably say the sled pull, and I would want it to be rope climbs. But I
Oh
think,
yes, that would be fun.
yeah, I think that might be too technical. I would say like 10 rope climbs would be right, and as long as you had pads and uh knotted ropes for the open or something, but I think that's too much extra equipment and stuff to be hauling
yeah,
around for everyone. I mean, but it would be less weight than the sled, so um but
Yeah,
if you
or pull, or even now that we go down that path, even pull-ups. It's a great test of strength.
yeah,
So we could do pull-ups, but then yeah, we would
it's
need
yeah, the access
judges
for
and
everyone.
yeah.
And I would say you could replace it with like a bike erg or something, but then you lose the pulling movement.
Mhm.
So maybe like lighten it and make them sit down to do the pull, and then you have
yeah,
your pull in too. Um,
yeah.
that doesn't change the equipment. I don't know.
That's funny.
That's the only ones I was thinking of. Thanks for doing that with me. My next one was actually going to be the question of have you ran a HYROX race, but you told us you've ran 30 or 40 and two officially though. So
Yeah, yeah, two officially. Or
uh,
three. I did a relay too, but yeah, I haven't like it's not to a point where I what at one point I wanna actually like train for it and make it fun and actually like lead up to it. So, but it was always like last minute type. Let's
yeah.
do it to do it, but it's still fun. So yeah.
I mean, that's what it's like when you're putting. I used to put it on some events at our old gym, and that was kind of the same thing. It was like I didn't get to train for it myself or do it myself because you're so invested in doing it. And with how many events you guys put on, you're busy all the time with that. Um, what are you most excited about for HYROX this season? Now that we're about a month and 5 days away from the first major.
Um, Okay, so this is a personal excitement. I'm when I first started, when we kicked off, and right at the kickoff, Christian said, "Now we're going to roll it out, German wide," and then he was like, "Now we're going to roll it out in the U.S." And every time he said that, I was like, "Yeah, right." But then personally, in my mind, I thought, if HYROX was ever going to be in Thailand, because my mom's from Thailand, then we've made it. So in my book, at
Wow.
least. Yeah, and it's actually coming to Thailand. So I'm like that's my highlight, and I'm super 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 excited that it's going to be in Thailand. So that's
That's
Oh, that's
awesome.
exciting for
Has
me.
that been announced yet in the Thailand race?
I think there's an IG channel, like a Thai channel, and they are some affiliations. And Gabe Heck, he lives in Thailand, so he's I see him on my IG all the time. Like he trains for it already. He has like groups in Thailand. So it's been announced, but there's no official date.
Nice. Okay. Um, so this is one more personal to me. Tell me about the future of HYROX kids.
Oh, you know what? We used to have HYROX kids, like youngsters in Hamburg.
Hmm.
It was like a legit collaboration with schools, and they would come in at 8 in the morning and do the entire race. Like they would skip obviously a couple parts, and they would do bear crawls instead of um, lunges, for example. And but moving back to the inchworms, but this was actually a legit thing for 2 years. We had like I think 800 kids. Then we stopped it because it was just local to Hamburg, and now it's been like re-rolled out. And so we did London, we did Singapore, and it's a slightly different version. It's still like in the beta testing progress, I think. We're still testing and see what works, but it at one point will be also available, in the US and everywhere else, because there's a huge demand, and I think it's so much fun, and the youth is our future. So there's really just pros to it, and
Yeah.
we're just gonna have to figure out how to roll it out.
Yeah, there's actually a gym that we used to live by. We don't anymore, but there's a gym here in Utah that's a chain gym in the US, and it's called Kids Strong, and it looks exactly like kids training for a HYROX,
Oh,
and it's
really?
available for 1 to 11-year-olds.
That's
They
amazing.
got like I made a sled for Lily that's out of
I
PVC
saw
pipe.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, and they have sleds that look just like that actually. So
that's amazing.
it was pretty neat. So one of the last couple questions before we get to some extra credit ones. What do you think has led to the success of HYROX?
Oh, that's a tough one. Um, I think it's a couple things. I think it's the movements that are very accessible. So there's no, I guess, entry level. Technically, anyone can do it. It's just a matter of how they recover. So I guarantee they all get through it, but it's just how do they feel the day after type thing. So entry level. So the movements are really easy to do, and then
Yeah.
I right, and then I think once people get to HYROX, they are just like so caught up in the energy, because this is just a unique thing. Like it's almost like a festival or like a movement type thing, where you have thousands of strangers like doing the exact same thing, suffering with you, and that sort of creates a bond of some sort. I don't,
Yeah,
for lack of a better word, like I think
Yeah.
it's those two things. Yeah.
it's like
Yeah,
people doing a half marathon, an Ironman, a marathon, that like you do something hard together and it bonds people together.
exactly. Yeah, so I think that's what it is.
Right. So how if somebody wants to help judge or get involved or just volunteer, how can they do that?
Um, yeah, please hit us up. I think we have it's different for the US and for the different, but should always have it's like judgecrew@hyrox.com. You just email us and say you want to help. And there's also like on the websites, there's like become a volunteer. We frequently have like things that on social where they ask for volunteers. So yeah, that'll be a huge help if you just reach out if you want to help.
Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to signal to my future self just in case if I have to cut the recording here, because now I'm going to get to the extra credit questions. I told you a couple of them earlier, but you could say skip if you can't answer them or don't want to answer them on the recording, or I can cut them off.
All right.
All right.
We'll do.
First one, will there ever be another virtual championships of fitness?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, this was a very special occasion due to COVID. I think I didn't realize at the time, but I think this honestly made some impact. Like people were actually really happy that we did this. And for us, it kept us sane too. But I'm not sure if this will ever going to happen again. I'm not sure.
If it does, there's a way you can work it in by doing like one spot at a major is reserved for the winners of the VCF that
Right,
happens.
right.
There you
Would
go.
love that.
Might get some people involved that hadn't heard of HYROX previously.
I'll pass that down.
Maybe your military person or your hockey player or another handball player will jump in on that. That's how Dylan Scott found the sport. So
Really?
yeah, it obviously made an impact.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And then we also talked about this. I don't know if you can say anything. The last I heard, there were 3 possible cities on 3 possible different weekends for the World Championships. Has that been narrowed down? Will it be in Rio? And can you tell us when or where it will be, or when it will be announced?
What are the cities that you heard of?
I didn't hear what the cities were. I just guessed Rio because I heard somebody say something about they're going to South America.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, Rio, I guess, will be very nice. So I can tell you this much: there's been quite a bit back and forth. Simply not because we went back and forth, but because there's more to it. There's venue negotiations. There's we come up with a big team. We need like the whole week basically. We need hotels. Blah 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 blah. So there's negotiations. We did narrow it down to 2, and now it's narrowed down to 1. And the announcement will be, I want to say this or next week. So it's gonna be close. And as far as the date, I can say it's around the same date that it's always been. So that's when our World Championships always happen. So
End of
yeah,
May, early June, somewhere around there.
exactly. But other all further information you need to wait just a little bit.
Okay. And then the last one is me. How do you get involved in the discussion of like how you guys, what is your guys' process for discussing how to qualify for worlds and majors? Like do you do it at the end of each year? Do you do it in the beginning and then say this is our process for next year? Like how you establish who the auto qualifiers are, what the time base, like how you guys came up this year with the 2 average times, which I love, by the way. 2 average times to get you, and then which events will be the majors?
So with which event will be the majors, this is like a more of a C-level decision, because they need to like figure out what makes sense, if the venue can like actually accommodate that, and then also kind of like make it fair. So we can't have all 4 majors in Europe, obviously, or in the US. It needs to be spread somehow, and so that's their decision. And then as far as the qualification process, that's actually a work in progress, because we come up with something and then we check out how the season goes and what the feedback is, and then feedback is always welcome. So constructive criticism also, because we're learning with each day pretty much, or each season, and then we reevaluate, and then it's beginning of the new season where we then come up with the qualification system. So this season was special because we technically, our off season was the season was still going, the summer season in Australia, right? But we consider this like off season at HQ, because we have no events in the rest of the world except for APAC. And so that was when we came up with the new qualification system.
Yeah, I think you guys do an awesome job with updating the qualifications each year, and the way you do, it's always been in a positive direction. So I think it's been really, really good. I mean, I really loved last year where it was you can't qualify for worlds based on time. You had to race your way in to get to worlds. Like that was fantastic. And then this year using the same thing and then averaging it out, like I think it's been improved every single year. I just want
it's
to
what we
commend you
try.
guys on that. That's
appreciate that. But we obviously we can't make everybody happy,
right.
but we try to come up with the most fair way to qualify for that, and that's a work in progress, like I said.
I think just in the future, if you guys wanted to, you could shorten the season, put all the majors after the new year, and then have it wiped clean so that that between worlds and the new year, that's when everybody had to go get their qualifying times or their average times or their qualifying race to get into the majors. I think that'd be
You mean that they all do that in the previous season to like then like after the season, between the seasons? Is that what you're saying?
so like if Worlds is in June,
Yeah.
they have from June to January 1st or whenever the first, like the cutoff is for the first major, to go get their 2 times or
Got it.
or their
Yeah.
average, or like win this race to get into this major or something. And they would have those 6 months to do that. And then that would be like the regular season. And then the majors would happen in the spring. And that would be like the playoffs. And then the championship obviously
Yeah.
happens in May or June.
I like that, actually. That's a cool approach. Because then it would also wipe out, like it will then include all new season, right?
Yeah,
So if we had a new
everything's
equipment, blah blah blah. Yeah, makes sense.
like I mean, I'm not preferential to auto qualifiers, so I think like, yeah, wipe the slate clean. You know, at the end of every season, hockey, any professional sports team, everything starts new. Everybody's 0-0 at the beginning of a season.
It's true.
So I always think that's really cool. I just want to say thank you so much, Mintra, for coming on and
Oh,
answering all the questions.
of
I
course.
I've been telling JK for weeks. I was really excited that you'd agreed to come on at some point, and I'm really glad we got to talk.
Yeah, me too. I actually really enjoyed this podcast. So, not that I don't enjoy the others, but like this was fun talking to you guys.
I
Will you
so the
will
last
you
thing I
be
was
in Amsterdam, Mintra?
Oh yes, actually I will be. So Amsterdam is my first, comeback
Yeah,
event. So I'll be in Amsterdam because it's not too far from Hamburg. So yeah, oh yeah, see you there, huh?
that's
very
awesome.
good. See you there.
Is there anything you wanted to add as far as coaching? This is more, we try not to do like pundit news or anything, but we like to, if there's anything you want to add as far as like your coaching philosophy or who you are as a coach or anything, or tout your gym again, I'd be happy to hear it.
No, I think we covered everything pretty well. I think sometimes what you said in the beginning, being the only female on the team and stuff, I think I sometimes get overlooked in a not in a bad way, but it's just the nature of things. And I think that a lot of people don't know that I created a race. So I think it's cool that we got to talk about this and like
Yeah.
got to talk about this side of the business and yeah. So I really
Great.
appreciate that.
We all have a ton of respect for you. I know Lauren talks really highly of you all the time, and I'm sure
Oh,
some of the other athletes do, but uh, I'm sure there's actually people too that like try to take advantage. But I think you're doing an amazing job, and you're a great role model. And just as a girl dad, I love seeing women at the head of sports and head of things that she can look up to and be a role model for. So thank you.
well, that's nice of you that you said that. Yeah,
You
I try my best.
I hope you and your family are doing great. We're excited to see you and Jacob back this season. And JK, you want to roll us out?
Yeah, well, yeah, thank you so much, Mintra. And I will see you in what'd you say, Anthony?
A month
One
and
month and 5 days.
5 days. You got 35
Yeah,
days.
exciting stuff. Exciting
Can't
stuff.
wait.
So yeah, it'll be good.
All right. Thank
And
you, guys.
thanks, guys.
I'm
Cheers.
going to stop the
All right.
recording here. Thank you for listening today, everybody. If you would like to be coached by James Kelly, visit him on Instagram at jk.hybridcoaching or look him up on the Fitter app. If you'd like to be coached by me, Anthony Parasini, or my wife, Lauren Weeks, visit The Hybrid Engine on Instagram as at The Hybrid Engine, or you can visit me at A Wild Parasini. You can also visit our website, thehybridengine.com. Additionally, you can find James Kelly as James Kelly and Georgie Vesley on YouTube, or you can find The Hybrid Engine on YouTube, or this podcast is available in video form also on YouTube as The Hybrid Coaching Podcast. Thank you again for listening, and we hope that you'll tune in next week for the next episode of The Hybrid Coaching Podcast.